My lab works on spinal muscular atrophy. It's a childhood motor neuron disease, and it's been known for a long time that children with spinal muscular atrophy have small muscles. It's always been thought that the muscle defect was attributable to the motor neuron defect, but we were interested in seeing whether or not that was actually true. So in collaboration with Amy Wagers, we isolated the stem cells that give rise to muscle from a mouse model of spinal muscular atrophy, and we showed that both in vivo and in vitro, the muscle stem cells, which are called satellite cells, actually have a separate defect from the motor neuron defect. Their defect is a curious one. They stop proliferating and prematurely start trying to make muscle, but they fail somewhere in the process of making muscle, so that the muscle is not bigger, which you might have thought because they start to develop prematurely, but actually smaller because they fail to develop completely. It turns out, because Amy Wagers and I also teach an aging course together, that I have learned from Amy that aging muscle happens to have a very similar defect to what's seen in spinal muscular atrophy. So in a separate study, we actually have carried out a screen to look for drug-like molecules that can correct the defects seen in both spinal muscular atrophy muscle and in aging muscle. That screen was also very successful, and we're in the process of putting the data together for a paper now. One of our conclusions from the work with Amy was that not only is the muscle defect separate from the motor neuron defect, but in fact may occur before the motor neuron defect, that the muscle problems may contribute to the motor neuron problems. In other words, this is the opposite interpretation of what the disease is. It used to be thought that disease was a motor neuron disease which caused muscle problems. We're thinking it might be a muscle disease that causes motor neuron problems, at least in part. So it becomes important for us to try to correct the muscle defect. So in a separate study that Amy and I have done together, we've tried to find drug-like molecules that can make the muscle grow better. These were molecules that are designed to cause the cells, these muscle stem cells, to proliferate without differentiating, so that there'll be the correct number of them and they can form large, healthy muscle fibers. We're actually hoping that if we can get mice or kids with the disease to form better muscle, that this will help slow the rate of decline of the motor neurons themselves.